blades, the ultimate edged tools. Is there a such thing as that? A knife that meets all requirements, everyone's demands. A knife so well built and designed, conceived from the heavens above, that there is no really need to design any more knives. The knife to replace all knives. The one tool option. This hasn't happened. This is really more of a fantasy. We'll never get to that point because there's too many different types of requirements and needs to fulfill them all with one knife. You have folding knives, you have compact small knives, larger knives, fixed blade knives, knives with very specialized edges, serrated, non-serrated, combo edge. So the question is, what is the blade best suited for your applications, your needs? What is the knife and configuration that appeals to you? With that being said, there are literally tens and tens of thousands. And if you were to really dig deeper and go to very specialized makers of knives across the world and dig up even older models, some of which are not even made, but still, on the secondary markets, you could easily probably, seriously, no joke, have over 100,000 plus options, depending on how much you're willing to spend and what type of blade it is. So with that, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of options that are literally available in modern day society. And not to even count that you can create your own. You can customize and build your own, learn how to do knife making and metal smithing and create your own blade, and there you go. There's even another option. You can do whatever you want. You can pretty much buy whatever you want and desire. So the question really goes back to, what do you need the knife for? And this is what I was kind of find amazing, that a lot of people, especially even knife collectors, they buy things on appeal, which is fine. You should buy what you like. But then they sometimes come away from it unsatisfied, as if, the knife was almost perfect. If they only would have done this, this, and this. And I hear this all the time. I don't think I've ever heard a person say, this is the perfect knife for me. Now, I'm sure there are some people who've actually built and created their own perfect knife. And those people probably just don't, brag about it. They're probably humble people. But in terms of custom, semi-custom, or production, that's very rare probably that people say, wow, this is the perfect knife for me. And that's why some people modify their knives, customize their knives to make it the perfect knife for them. Just like I may have spoken in the past, I can't remember if I put this in video form, but the Ka-Bar Dozer, the Hunter model, I really like that knife. Not so big on the whole spear point blade, but it works just fine. The blade steel is low, or lower in quality compared to others, but it works just fine. The handle material is made out of a Zytel, not probably the most premium, materials, but it works just fine. But could you upgrade all those and make some kind of a super knife out of it? Absolutely. And I've talked about this in detail about, I'd probably take that clip on that knife and make it into a titanium clip. And the scales, I'd probably do, one series of them. I would do various colors of G10, at least a nice, decent, medium traction G10, and another series of that particular style of knife in a micarta. No liners. It would just be a light-duty type of knife or everyday carry. And the blade, I'd probably have several formats. Probably just keep the spear point as it is now, but also have a very slight drop point design or a modified drop point blade, and maybe even try to go with the full flat ground. Now that would be cool. Um, and there's just things like that. You can continue on and on and on about little refinements and just thoughts. But for the most part, though, what you realize is that what's available, especially on just standard, affordable, budget level, commercially produced, mass produced level, is more than efficient for what we need. Yes, there's always things we could tweak, and there's always things that we would probably desire. It could just be the color of the handle, or just a little minute difference on the blade, and maybe you'd want it to be a little bit bigger, or a little bit smaller, or a little bit lighter in weight. But ultimately, though, what's out there pretty much meets the needs over 90% of the time, for what we want. And not even so much for what we want, but what meets our needs, just in an everyday task, utility cutting or whatnot. So with that being said, for all those people who get a little wound up because they can't find their perfect knife, it's okay to settle sometimes on what's already available if you're not willing to put the effort to design your own. So those are just my few thoughts, because I know sometimes I'll think a little out loud and go, man, if only they did this and this and this. And of course, I'm sure this happens in any industry for any collector. It could be a car collector. It could be someone who collects guns or crossbows, or who has a library. They might think, if that author only wrote this, this, and this in this manner, I think it would have been better. Of course, in hindsight, we can say a lot of things. But to conceive of that particular style of item, to conceive of those words that made up that book in the original format is art in and of itself. And so we should probably celebrate that, and not get so upset, though, that it isn't in our mind this certain way that we determine that it should be. So with that, everyone be safe, my friends, and we'll catch you on the flip side.